What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
We're talking about practice, not a game. Not a game. We're talking about practice. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB, it's Christian. Dylan still dealing with the Elvis. Hopefully everything is okay. Hopefully
Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Hubba. Hopefully he's okay in the near future to hop back on the show. He'll be back sooner rather than later. But we're going to dive into our final breakdowns of Ted Lasso Season 1. I finished through today, and next week we'll be on to Season 2. But obviously there's huge news in the TV and movie space as well with the Writers Guild strike that just happened earlier this week. So we will be diving into all of that. I am trying to pay attention as much as I can, Christian, to the amount of people who have changed their profile pictures to see if they are actual writers, to try and get them on the show and get a firsthand kind of discussion point going with some of the writers that are on strike. I would love to get Mike Levin on the show, obviously. But yeah.
One person I'll throw out who I don't know if we even could get him, but C. Robert Cargill, who's like a guy who former author who tweets a lot and started writing and directing, if I remember correctly. And yeah, so some of the films you may know him from, Kyle. Sinister 2, Doctor Strange, and this past year's 2 years ago, The Black Phone.
Okay, that's the Ethan Hawke, right?
Yeah. So maybe we just drop him out there. You know,
hey.
He's
old Steph Curry gif. But yeah, definitely, if you are a member of the Writers Guild, East, West, or anywhere in between, we'd love to have you on the show to get your voice out there and give us the perspective from your point of view, and we'll get into everything that is kind of going into the Writers Guild strike, and then we'll get into the news and notes as well across the streaming platform Multiverse. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials, Twitter and Instagram at StreamerSZN. I'm setting an end-of-month goal for us, Christian, because we've been way more active on the socials lately. I want us to get to at least 200 followers on Twitter by the end of the month, and I want us to get to at least 100 followers on Instagram by the end of the month. I think it's very attainable, very doable. We're at 180 on Twitter, and I believe we're at 46 or 47 on Instagram. So StreamerSZN on both platforms. That's literally where you find this podcast anywhere. Go follow us. And, of course, check out all the content we're putting out on the socials. Follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_PHI. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Shout out to Canada. We charted on the Apple Podcast charts in Canada this past week. I think we peaked at number 31. I was going back and looking at the
Who needs Dylan?
You sent that in the group chat. His immediate response was, fuck.
Bye, Dylan. Bye.
Have mercy. But shout out to our Canadian
Stay
listeners.
off the toilet, okay, Dylan?
Stay off the pot. Stay off the weed. But shout out to our Canadian listeners for showing out this past week and checking out the pod. We did have a big bump overall in listens this past week or so. So shout out to everybody who may be a new listener, a new viewer. But go subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. Go subscribe on YouTube as well. YouTube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this podcast and every podcast on our network. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of the content we're putting out on the channel. We have some live streams upcoming, some big guests coming on some shows in the near future, and you don't want to miss out on any of it. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. We are currently at 450 subscribers. Let's get to 500 by the end of the month, if not sooner. So go subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend, and check out everything we're putting out on YouTube. But Christian, let's get into Ted Lasso Season 1, Episodes 6 through 10. It's brought to you by our amazing merch partners, PHI Apparel Company, who provide unique designs and high-quality clothing for the great fans of Philadelphia and our podcast. I can't tell you guys enough. Whenever I wear my StreamerSZN hoodie out in public, it is one of the most complimented pieces of clothing I think I've ever owned in my entire life. Humble brag, I designed it. Go get it. You'll get compliments. It's my go-to. When I'm going to the movies this weekend to go see Guardians 3, that's the hoodie I'm going to be wearing.
I'm seeing it tonight. Joke's on you. Staff screening perks.
Enjoy. But yeah, go get your StreamerSZN merch. It is the most effective and direct way to support everything we're doing. And you're going to stand out at the movie theater. If you're Netflix and chilling, if you're hanging out with the family at home, family movie night, you're going to be the best dressed because you're rocking StreamerSZN merch. And our listeners can use promo code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any apparel when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co, code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all orders. Plus, we just dropped a Fuego Philly Dogs shirt that I need to find a way to get it to Nick Sirianni.
I sent it to my friend. He loved it.
Let's go.
So,
by yours truly.
Yeah. So, how can we get it to Nick Sirianni? Does anyone have passes to training camp? Anyone? Let
us know. Or if you know how we can get it to any of the Georgia Bulldogs that are now on the Eagles, I'd love to get them shirts as well.
See, and no offense, but is there even a size big enough that we could produce to fit Jordan Davis?
True, we'd have to know his shirts. Him and Jalen Carter, I feel like they're just tall and they're both just massive humans. I feel like they could rock it as a cutoff. I've thought about purchasing another one because I bought one myself and buying one to make into a cutoff. But yeah, go check out the Philly Dogs merch. Go check out the StreamerSZN merch and use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your order. Christian, Ted Lasso, Season 1, Episodes 6 through 10. Episode 6 might be my favorite simply for the pop culture references, especially the Allen Iverson practice rant that Ted Lasso gives in this episode. I was like, Leo meme, hardcore. I was like, I was Captain America. I understood that reference.
Yep.
Overall, obviously, we're going to give our season rating for this, as we do for every show we review and everything. But I thought the tail end of the season lined up exactly how you said last week, where the last couple of episodes we reviewed got the ball rolling, got the snowball running down the hill, and then snowball came crashing through to wrap up this season. A lot of fun characters showing up. That I finally know who they are in the show, because before I just knew them from the NFL UK ambassador program and homeboy being a fan of the Miami Dolphins. But overall, very fun way, to have a second half of this season. Very enjoyable, and Season 1, some damn good TV.
Damn good. Game straight.
So let's get into a quick breakdown of Episode 6. Two aces. Ted struggles emotionally Did you have something?
No, I was just going two.
Oh,
Two aces.
2 aces, dos aces,
Pocket aces.
21. Ted struggles emotionally with the end of his marriage, but is buoyed by Richmond's first win. The press continues to treat Rebecca badly, calling her Old Rebecca after Bex, whose full name is also Rebecca, begins dating Rupert, and Jamie and Ted continue to clash over his role with the team. Jamie sees his power weaken when Danny Rojas,
Danny Rojas. Danny
what
Rojas.
an icon, a new
Freaking
enthusiastic
Energizer
player.
Bunny.
Man,
Freaking Energizer Bunny there.
he puts the Energizer Bunny to shame, because I think, the Energizer Bunny, he may keep going, no free ads, but them batteries die sometimes. Danny Rojas' battery never dies.
As you continue watching, he's so funny and somewhat naive. But that's what's so great about him. He's like
great.
all I'll say is you haven't watched season 3 yet, but the word is tulips. The word's tulips.
So Danny Rojas, a new enthusiastic player who is just as good as Jamie Tartu, joins the team. The two form a rivalry, but Danny gets mysteriously injured, and Ted learns of ghosts haunting the team's treatment room. Ted makes the team sacrifice something special to them to lift the curse, and even Jamie joins in after inspirational words from Keeley. The next morning, Ted discovers that Jamie has been returned to Manchester City, who had loaned Jamie to AFC Richmond for the season. Danny tries to cheer him up, but nothing happens, and Rebecca works to continue derailing the team. Great episode. The practice rant I was like in my bag, especially, as we record this on Wednesday. It's the day after Joel Embiid just won the MVP, and I'm in full-blown Sixers playoff mode too. I was like, that is a staple of my childhood, the practice rant. Very fun episode. It kind of shows the power dynamics between all the kind of like plot phases that we discussed last week. I really enjoyed this episode a lot.
Yeah, it's an early show of what this film can do emotionally in regards to people's relationships, and that's really showcased in the relationship through Ted and his wife. So that I think is like where this show kind of like begins to take a step up, and then it continues to build with the wacky, zany humor of everyone's burning something, and the one guy tosses in his car keys, and like, how are you gonna get home? And just sits there for a moment. It's like, good point.
That was brilliant. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Like, it shows kind of the ground level dynamics of introducing like the U.S. Culture to how soccer dynamics work too, which I think is very fun.
Football dynamics.
It's called soccer. But with everything with Jamie Tartt being returned to Manchester City, like if you don't understand like loans and stuff like that, it gives you kind of like a baseline level of what that actually means. And if you want more on that, go listen to Top Bins. It's on our YouTube channel, and just subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, I think I'm going to give this episode 8.2.
So, as I've said before, I try and keep a somewhat level standard for the peaks and valleys of stuff. I don't know what the highest I gave last week was. Do you happen to have that on hand?
I want to say it was either like a high 7s or an 8 flat.
Let's say 7.
There's episode 6, 2 aces, 7, 8, 3. It's easy math unless you're running on fumes like I am.
Poor
It's
Kyle.
an 8 flat. So there is episode 6, and we move to episode 7. Make Rebecca great again. How ironic.
Isn't it ironic? Ooh.
Also, is it very bad that whenever I see the credits for this show and I see Joe Kelly, I just think of the baseball pitcher?
Nope. You're our American brains are totally fine with that.
I just see him walking off the mound doing the. It's great. Which is also very funny because I'm pretty sure that happened in the 2020 season, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think that happened during the Dodgers Mickey Mouse World Series run.
And he's on the White Sox now?
Maybe?
I think he is. Either way, back on topic.
Shout out Joe Kelly. So make
thumbs down Joe Kelly.
AFC Richmond travels to Liverpool for its game against rivals Everton, which they have been unable to beat for the last 60 years. The game is being held on the weekend of Rebecca and Rupert's wedding anniversary, so Keely tags along to cheer Rebecca up. They meet Rebecca's old friend Flo, Sassy Collins.
Sassy Smurf. Marlboro Man.
Who immediately takes a liking to Ted. That night, Ted, reluctant to sign the divorce papers, gets drunk and snaps at Nate. The next morning, Ted apologizes and asks Nate to share some of his ideas, and Nate gives the team an inspiring, if insulting, pregame speech, and they win the game. Loved it. Loved the speech. It was great.
Yeah.
Call him out. Get him fired up.
The Iron Giant.
It was very PJ Tucker. That evening, the team goes out to celebrate at a karaoke bar, which was just, give me all the Wonderwall.
And after all,
you're my Wonderwall. And Rebecca reveals her beautiful voice with a lovely rendition of Frozen, Let It Go.
Yeah, Kyle, let it go.
Ted tries to enjoy the evening, but suffers a panic attack and stumbles out of the building, where Rebecca finds him and comforts him. Ted retreats to his hotel room, where he is visited by Sassy. Roy kisses Keely, then leaves abruptly, and Rebecca entertains a hotel waiter in her room. Very fun, plot-progressing episode. More of the on-field kind of dynamics, gives you an idea of how they're kind of trying to shape AFC Richmond in the ethos of the Premier League, and then you get more plot progression, you just get more fun, you get Wonderwall, you get Let It Go. Very fun episode.
Yep.
I think I'd give this one a 7.9.
I'm going to be right there with you, 7-9.
There it is. It's 7.9 across the board as we move to episode 8, The Diamond Dogs. Ted talks about his troubles concerning Sassy with Beard, Nate, and Higgins, and he nicknames the group the Diamond Dogs. That's something we should put on a shirt.
Yeah.
Keely talks with Roy and asks him to go out for coffee, which he declines due to being busy. Later that night, Jamie visits Keely and she asks him to stay. Keely later admits to Roy that she slept with Jamie, and Roy talks to Ted, who enlists the help of the Diamond Dogs. They help Roy see another perspective, and he goes off with Keely. Ted thanks Rebecca for her help during his first panic attack and offers to help her when she meets other team owners later that afternoon at a pub.
You turn out to be.
Which there, Rebecca is blindsided by Rupert, who threatens to come to each game and criticize her handling of the team. And in response, Ted makes a wager with Rupert over a game of darts. Ted wins, much to Rebecca's delight, because Ted remembers he's left-handed.
Yeah, Ted with just the ultimate bait job.
It was
like,
very reminiscent of, it was like the episode of Drake and Josh when they're playing pool, and they just absolutely hustle and finesse to get the money for Drake's mom's birthday gift.
Call an ambulance, but not for me.
Exactly. Ted wins.
We've got the clip, Kyle. We've got the clip. Is. Call the ambulance, but not for me.
Ted wins, much to Rebecca's delight, and on their way to dinner, Keely and Roy's kiss is caught on camera by a paparazzo. But Roy forcefully takes the paparazzo's memory card, and the next morning in Rebecca's office, Higgins implores her to stop ruining the team and quits. Keely then storms into the office, having realized Rebecca's plan after finding the picture of her and Ted that was meant to appear in the sun on the camera card. She threatens to tell Ted if Rebecca does not do it first. We love some spice.
Spicy.
This episode was filled with some spice, some conflict, and again, another very solid episode in the second half of a season. I think it helps progress the story along. It does a lot of late season character development, a lot of like late season just like eye opening for characters as well, for people they thought they could trust and then they really feel like they can't now. I enjoyed this one a lot. I'm gonna give episode 8 an 8.1.
I'll match it. 8.1, sure.
Episode 9, All Apologies. Rebecca still has not told Ted about her attempts to sabotage the team, and on the pitch, Roy is showing his age, and there are calls to bench him. Ted refuses to do it, alienating him from the others. After Keely's prompting, Rebecca tries to tell Ted, but finds she cannot, and immediately afterward, Rupert comes and tells her he's having a baby with Bex, to which, by the time that baby's grown up, Rupert's just going to be Ash and a black Amex card.
Which, if we're honest, they do kind of talk about that in the last episode, right?
A little bit. Rebecca marches down to Ted's office and confesses, and to her surprise, he easily forgives her. Ted tells Roy he is benching him, and Roy feels betrayed and goes to Keely, who tells him he is more than just a footballer. Having been forgiven, Rebecca then seeks out Higgins and apologizes to him. Higgins returns to the club, and in the bar after Ted again states he is not concerned about wins, Beard angrily tells Ted that these are professionals and not student athletes, and that winning is important to him and the players. Ted finds Roy outside the pub, and the two talk. Roy admits his age, and they agree that they will claim Roy is injured so as not to embarrass him with a benching. And at the next practice, Roy surprises Ted by showing up and donning a second team penny, accepting his new role while still leading the team as they approach their final match.
Bang.
Great episode. A lot of just character dynamic in this one that really kind of just breaks it down to its core. You see how the element of trust and friendships and reliance can kind of be tested, and I thought it was a really well executed episode. I'll give this one an 8.3.
8.2.
So episode 10, the finale, The Hope That Kills You. Nate is promoted to coach, and he shows an inspirational video of Jamie, but after Jamie insults the team, they don't watch it, and one of them smashes the screen. Rebecca inspires Ted to cause chaos on the pitch and confuse the other team. In the final match of the season, Manchester City takes a 1-0 lead in the second half, but Richmond pulls a trick play set piece and scores to tie the match in a American football style setup, which was very hilarious. Obviously taking you all the way back to episode 1, where that's how Ted got hired. But however, it is hopeless as Jamie Tart makes an extra pass to a teammate who scores and wins the game for Manchester City. Consequently, Richmond are relegated. Heartbroken by the result in relegation, Ted attempts to cheer everyone up with some advice he offered Sam earlier in the season, and that together they will get through it. Christian, what species has the shortest memory?
Goldfish.
So then they'll get through it. Coach Beard brings Jamie an envelope from Ted with a letter congratulating him for the extra pass and a toy soldier to look after him, having seen his father berate him for not scoring. Meeting with Rebecca the next morning, Ted attempts to resign. But
Almost.
She rebuffs him. Instead, together they decide to win promotion next season and then win the Premier League once they are back. And that is your Ted Lasso Season 1 finale.
Bang, bang.
Lots of fun, and I think it diverts from the typical trope where you have the happy-go-lucky season finale and you have some heartbreak to kind of dwell on until the next season comes along, which I kind of really enjoyed. You know, you don't always have to win in the end. And, you know, it's defined by the episode title, The Hope That Kills You.
Yep.
I really like this episode. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
An 8.5. 8.4.
So there it is. And with that, that is going to bring us to the ever-growing review sheet as we install Ted Lasso Season 1 into the review grades. As I pull it up here. Christian, for Ted Lasso Season 1, Overall, it's a really well done show. Big fan so far. I'm excited to dive further into it and get more out of the characters that we've been presented with. Get more of the dynamic of kind of the world building of Ted Lasso. But for season 1, your overall thoughts on it. Obviously, you watched this prior to me watching it, but
That I did.
your season 1 grade.
I would say so. It's a very solid first season. That when you watch the later seasons, it doesn't have as much depth, but it sets up so much to come later. So I would say give it an 8. Like good, pretty good.
Christian's gonna give season 1 of Ted Lasso a flat, solid 8. I think it was really, like I said, it's really well done. It's a great intro season for the show. I think as it's continued on, you see why it's a staple of Apple TV, and I think it was one of their first home runs, if not their first, to really hit the mainstream and bring people in. Big fan of it. I'm excited to continue watching along. I'm gonna give season 1. I'm gonna give it an 8.3.
8.3.
Big fan. Enjoyed it. I'm excited to continue our watch alongs here. So I give it an 8.3. Christian gives it an 8 flat, which subsequently plots it right down the middle at an 8.15, which rounds up in our books to an 8.2
Bang.
of 10. Very solid, and that is currently, without Dylan's score in the mix, because Dylan is also watching from home.
But he's stuck in the Elvis.
3rd highest rated show so far this year, just behind Poker Face Season 1. That got an 8.4 from us.
And The Last of Us.
And The Last of Us, obviously, with a 9.6 out of 10.
Bang.
So Ted Lasso Season 2 for us begins on next week's episode. And hopefully you guys are watching along with us. And if you are, leave a comment in the YouTube comment section with your overall thoughts on Season 1, your thoughts on Ted Lasso as a whole. And we'll keep it pushing from here and move it to the Writers Guild strike. This is brought to you by our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Sunglasses, blue light glasses, prescription lenses. They've got it all for a fraction of the big eyewear companies. They've been rocking with us since before Ted Lasso came out. So they're the best in the game. And they are self-made. They're owned by 4 former athletes now who just want to see the continued progression of the company. They're doing everything to upgrade their eyewear to be the best in the game, and we can't thank Tomahawk Shades enough for supporting all of our programming across our network, especially this show. And you guys can go to TomahawkShades.com, get your sunglasses, your blue light glasses especially. You should be rocking the blue light glasses when you're watching your favorite shows and movies to protect your eyeballs from those violent blue light rays coming out of your screens. And if you need prescription lenses, they've got them. Go to TomahawkShades.com and use code USP for 25% off your order at TomahawkShades.com. That's promo code USP at TomahawkShades.com for 25% off your order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. Christian, the Writers Guild of America has gone on strike, effective, I believe, at 12:01 a.m. May 2nd. Lots and lots of commotion on the socials, lots and lots of picketing going on around America. This is the first time that this has happened since 2007, which I was in 7th grade when that happened. So it is kind of like this new age of kind of learning what exactly happened in 2007, because I think when you're a naive 7th grader, you're not really paying attention to that kind of stuff and how it affects shows and movies that you watch. The big kind of like general gist of breaking this down and why the writers have gone on strike, they want a pay raise, which they rightfully deserve, and they want to have a clause in the contract between them and the big media companies to kind of regulate the use of AI writing for scripts. I learned that recently. They want to kind of prevent that from happening, which makes a ton of sense. Why would the Writers Guild of America want to allow AI to be in space to, take away their jobs, essentially? There's a lot that goes into it. It is a wild time, and, you go back to 2007, a lot of things were affected television-wise. The big one that everyone brings up, it's not a show that I ever watched, but Heroes was a show that everyone said season 1 is brilliant, and then the strike happened and season 2 was awful. A lot of people say that the show Lost, which has a big cult following, was heavily affected by the 2007 strike. The Office season 4 only has like 11 or 14 episodes. That was due in part to the strike. So a lot of Friday Night Lights season 2 was affected by it. I think the only positive that happened from the 2007 strike was it saved Jesse in Breaking Bad, because he was supposed to be killed in season 1.
Nice.
So the strike saved Jesse's entire run on Breaking Bad.
So one other thing you didn't mention that is kind of important in these strikes is the guild is looking to have a mandated number of people as writers on any given show, which is partially because people like Taylor Sheridan are basically forced to write entire seasons of shows themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another key thing, where more jobs for more people, and essentially these studios are like, how about we still make a bunch of money? You don't get paid residuals off of streaming because it doesn't function like TV used to, and so on. Because, yeah, a major part of this is the whole residual structure for writers is broken, because in the age of streaming, writers don't get paid really for streaming. Like part of the reason Netflix budgets are so big is basically the actors get paid more upfront because residuals don't exist on streaming. So now, with all these big studios having streaming services and all this stuff, this is becoming another sticking point, and very much rightfully so, in
100%.
this strike.
And I mean, we've kind of talked about it over the past, I'd say, almost year now, when everything kind of started leaking through the cracks, specifically at Disney, with everything going on with Marvel, and kind of just everybody, not even just the writers, but, people kind of being pushed to their limits in terms of the amount of work they had to pump out, and then immediately having to move to a new project. So everything and that's the thing too, since 2007, it feels like, for us, that was yesterday type of thing. But 2007 is a long time ago at this point. It's almost 20 years ago, and streaming wasn't a thing then. Netflix was still sending DVDs through the mail in 2007. The Writers Guild contract hasn't been updated to factor in streaming whatsoever, and that's a problem, because I'd say, I don't even know where to ballpark it, but a large majority of TV consumption in 2023 and years in the past, especially from pandemic era on, is streaming.
Even think about all the older shows people go back and watch. How many people are going back and watching The Wire, watching The Sopranos for the first time, and the writers make no money off of that,
which is nuts.
But
we are pro Writers Guild on this podcast.
Yes, but speaking of Marvel, and I know this is stepping on news and notes, Blade brought on another writer, and they're still rewriting a month ahead of filming, Kyle. This is not going well. This is not going good.
This is fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Oh man.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is like, unless things get resolved, which it doesn't feel like, it's still very early on in this head clashing between the Writers Guild and the studios and everything. TV's gonna TV's gonna be tough for a little bit, I would say. And
well,
I think the one benefactor, I forget when it happened in 2007. The one kind of like silver lining here is it is like getting ready for like summer TV, which isn't necessarily like your greatest shows that get put in prime time and everything simply because of the time of year it is, but nonetheless it's not
so
ideal whatsoever.
so so the last writer's strike ran from November 5th, 2007 to February 12th, 2008. And so I will say this. Basically, the rest of the year is planned out for all of these people. It's a question of if this goes on past the 3 months and 8 days the last one took, that then starts screwing up everything for next year and the year following that. So, and shows basically started their writers room. Like there was a story about how I think it was Cobra Kai for some reason they're writing another season. I don't know why. That only 3 seasons needed to exist of that show, but that's well 4 maybe. I don't know. But Cobra Kai had 1 day in the writers' room. Yellow Jackets had like 1 day in the writers' room and then strike. So these companies are Kyle Graf. Tell it. Line.
You fuck around, you find out. Yeah, and I mean, there was something too that I saw. The studio wants to have like a rate, like a per day rate in the writers' room too. Like some of these people are in the writers' room 2 days a week. Like it's not it's not 2007 anymore. Like that's what these studios have to realize, and like the 8 largest studio moguls are multi-billionaires. I'm pretty sure they can shill out an extra 2% raise for all of these writers and make it so that they can reach the demands that are rightfully deserved for all of them. And like we mentioned at the top of the show, this is an open format for any writer that wants to come on and kind of break it down from your perspective and give us the insight from your point of view. We are Pro Writers Guild on this show because we want to see good stuff get made, and you're the ones that help get it made from the ground up. So we'll definitely be following along with this on this podcast for as long as it unfortunately continues to go on, and hopefully these studios wise up and realize that, hey, let's give people a living wage.
I dream the dream.
As Ted Lasso says, you gotta believe.
I believe.
But I think without any further ado, Christian, we get into everybody's favorite segment.
Big bang.
It is the Streaming Platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer of Underground Sports Philadelphia, and Dylan's beverage of choice when he's battling the Elvis. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and check out where they have Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. It's 4.1% ABV, just 127 calories, 10 grams of carbs, and the Kenny Tracker at kenwoodbeer.com will let you know who's got it on tap. If you're going to Game 3 or Game 4 of the Sixers playoffs, the Wells Fargo Center, you can get Big Kenny's at the Wells Fargo Center. You can buy Kenwood at your local Philadelphia area liquor store, or if you're in Eastern Pennsylvania, your local Home Goods. Whole Foods. Whole Foods. That's what I said. Light Body.
Edit it out. Edit it out.
I didn't say that. Light Body, Light Beer, the best light beer on the planet, and plenty of flavor. Must be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. Looking here, Christian, through the multiverse news and notes.
Dune!
Got the Dune trailer.
Which will be filming a separate reaction for YouTube.
And in the inspired by Dune category, and I can't wait to see your just disgusted reaction to this.
Oh, no.
In early talks, allegedly, these two of your favorite humans, Christian, they had some early talks about directing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. That would be the Russo brothers.
This is fine. Just stick to producing, boys. Just stick to producing, all right?
We got our first look of Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia season 16. Let's fucking go. I'm stoked. Looking here, more about the writer's strike. NBC, Jimmy Fallon, and Seth Meyers plan to pay their staffers on the writer's strike just 3 weeks of wages during the strike. NBC will pay 2 weeks of salary to staffers, while each late-night host will pay the third week out of their own pockets.
So, there was someone who writes for SNL who after Jimmy Fallon made those comments at the Met Gala, he didn't show up to the meeting the next day where the writers got that news. Yep. Good job, boss.
That's a big yikes from me, dog. Christian, we've got reported runtime for one of our most anticipated movies of the summer that would make the film one of the longest Western animated films of all time, and that is the runtime for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
2 hours 20, right?
2 hours and 20 minutes reported runtime, injected straight into my veins.
Which, I'm going to say this now, anyone who thinks that is long can shut up.
Yeah, it's not long at all. Especially for that kind of movie.
Yeah, no, 2 hours 20 minutes isn't a long movie. The threshold for long, realistically, is like 2 hours 40.
Mm-hmm. That's like the beginning of long.
Yeah.
James Gunn turned in a draft of the script for Superman Legacy last week.
Right before the strike.
Right before.
Yeah.
We got a new look at Will Poulter as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's very, very gold. Shout out SpongeBob, Gold Team rules. Looking here. Jim Lee has been promoted to President, Publisher, and Chief Creative Officer of DC. More changes for DC.
Changes for the better, hopefully.
Kevin Costner is leaving Yellowstone after 5 seasons due to alleged drama with Taylor Sheridan. Roinks Raggy. Which, from everybody that I see watching that show, it's like Yellowstone stinks and all the spinoffs are good.
Well, so Yellowstone has gone downhill as the seasons have continued. So early Yellowstone's known as really good, and plus there's this is where the rumor of them shifting it to Texas and have like McConaughey take over is coming from. All right.
Chris Pratt says, quote, "It would be strange to continue Star-Lord's story without James Gunn, but adds that if something makes sense, I would do it."
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right, and sounds about like you don't have to worry about Star-Lord dying in Guardians 3.
Yep. One time for my own piece of news and note. Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney's R-rated comedy, Anyone But You, will release on December 15th, 2023.
Okay.
2 very good-looking people.
True. Valid. I also have to, if you want to talk about good-looking people, have to give a nod to Big Daddy Pedro. He absolutely slayed on the red carpet at the Met Gala. Free the calves, let the calves breathe, rock the shorts to no avail. He looked absolutely beautiful. What a glorious human he is.
Speaking of Pedro Pascal, we need to start unpacking this Gladiator 2 cast.
Yeah.
Because this film, when it was initially announced, I was like, why does this need to exist?
And as more people got announced, you were like, okay, I'm intrigued. You're like Dan Lebatard's dad.
Can I introduce you to Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, I hate trying to pronounce his last name, Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Connie Nelson, and then rumored is, I hate trying to pronounce his name, Digimon Honsu. I hate trying to pronounce his name, but anyone who has seen, hold on. You guys would know him as the wizard from the Shazam films, and Korath from Captain Marvel. If anyone watched that,
makes sense. More of Christian's soapbox and being excited. The Succession series finale is 90 minutes long.
I'm sad that it's ending, but we're getting a movie-length runtime on the final episode.
We got a new look at Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in Secret Invasion, June 21st. Let's ride.
Did you see the magazine cover?
Yes, I loved it.
It was a full being John Malkovich vibes.
Yep.
Which
I can't wait for that show. I think that's gonna be
great. Like amazing. I think it's gonna be legitimately good. Another movie which I went from being like, okay, this is interesting, to be like, oh, now I'm actually intrigued, is the Gran Turismo film. So for those of you who don't know, it's Kyle, you are gonna love this cast. It has Orlando Bloom and David Harbour.
Big Daddy Harbour, DK Harbour, let's go.
And this is the premise. The film is about a Gran Turismo player whose gaming skills won a series of Nissan-sponsored video game competitions to become an actual professional race car driver. And it's based on an actual person called, I hate trying to pronounce your names, Jan Mardenborough. So it's not your normal quote-unquote video game film. Mm-hmm. And plus, it's directed by one of the more underrated directors who hasn't done as much recently, Neil Blomkamp, for those people who know him. Anyone here know District 9?
Mm-hmm.
He's the director and writer of that. And
My
now
dad loves that movie.
And now he's directing this movie, which is a weird choice, but when you look at what he's directed since District 9, I guess it kind of fits in. Asylum, Chappie, Demonic, and now Gran Turismo. It's like, can we get you more back to like District 9 level stuff? But this is fascinating because it's his first film not as a writer. So it'll be interesting to see. Well, first feature film not as a writer, so that'll be interesting to see.
It feels like David Harbour's popping up in a lot more stuff lately too, which I love.
So I was discussing this with one of my friends. I feel like the last few years of Stranger Things have helped him find his niche, because you get stuff like Violent Night, Gran Turismo, the Equalizer, Hellboy, and all these things like this, where it's just like this bigger, kind of gruff, but middle-aged guy who can also be humorous.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very valuable thing to be, because that can kind of slot you into a bunch of different styles of films. So
and I think we all agree, him and Florence Pugh were the best parts of that horrible Black Widow movie.
I will confirm that.
But yeah, I'm excited to see him in more stuff. I think he's one of the actors now that, like, if I see his name, I'm intrigued and I will at least give it a shot.
Oh no, hold on. I have to. Don't tell me.
Uh-oh.
Phillies!
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Alvarado, you were doing so well, too! Anyway.
A new live-action / animated hybrid Bugs Bunny movie is reportedly in the works.
Why?
I love doing this shit just to get those reactions at you.
Like, guys, like, people are just trying to copy what made Who Framed Roger Rabbit great, except you can't!
Yeah, what's up,
You
Doc?
can't. Like, spoiler alert, Space Jam 2: A New Legacy is dog shit! It's bad! Anyway.
Here's the time to make Dylan feel old, even though he's not on the pod this week. 21 years ago today, the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie released in theaters.
I mean, I was like 3, so cheers.
I was 8.
Cheers.
No, I was
7.
I turned 8 later that year.
Cheers.
They're all now available on Disney Plus, and I think the Toby trilogy's on Netflix as well. That is definitely some movies we'll be reviewing
at some point.
Michael Douglas will receive the honorary Palme d'Or at this year's. I always butcher this pronunciation of this film festival, Christian. The one that starts with a C, then goes A, 2 N's, and an ES.
So, Kyle, what of soup?
Cans.
Close. Can.
Fair enough. He'll get that at that film festival.
You're getting better. You're getting better, okay?
To celebrate his career and his engagement for cinema.
Good for him.
Looking here. Looking through the list. Where did this go? Here we go. Al Jean, a writer on The Simpsons for around 30 years, highlights that one reason the writer's strike is important is for getting, as we mentioned, the residuals for streaming. It's important for us to get a share of streaming because that's where the future is, and that's coming from somebody who's written on one of the most successful television shows, and it's
ever.
It's an American staple. So yeah, get it done. Let's figure this out. Looking here. We move along. James Gunn says he considered doing Rocket's story in a Rocket and Groot movie before including it in Guardians 3.
Okay.
Guardians Volume 3 is tracking to earn $250+ million in the film's worldwide opening weekend. Is that good, bad, in between?
Say it again.
It's tracking to earn $250 million plus in the film's worldwide opening weekend.
If it gets over 100 million domestic, we're cooking. But let's see, if we look at the box office of what was the last Marvel film? Ant-Man?
Yeah.
3 opening weekend box office. Ant-Man scored over 100 million. Is that globally or domestically? Let's quickly check that. It looks like that was globally. So as long as it outpaces that and does better than that, it's going good. I do think this will be the most popular Marvel movie this year by far, and will be the best Marvel movie of this year by far. So
it was Ant-Man was first. It's this one, and then just the Marvels,
yeah,
and then obviously Into the Spider-Verse is like Marvel adjacent.
yeah.
Oh, and the Sony Craven movie I think is this year too.
Yeah, but that's
Also
I don't
Marvel
count
adjacent.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably agree that this is definitely going to be the best. I mean, James Gunn turned the Guardians of the Galaxy, which were like a bottom of the barrel, just like you had to be like a cult Marvel comic fan to kind of know who they were, and turn them into like everybody's favorite Marvel characters in the blink of an eye. So I think it's going to be awesome. Some more issues with the writer's strike. Abbott Elementary Season 3 is on hold due to the writer's strike, which could majorly impact the amount of episodes in the third season. Here. Oh, to follow up with the Guardians opening weekend stuff, it's tracking to earn $120 million domestic.
Sounds good. That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
That'll do, donkey.
That'll do.
This is very funny, just because he used to work for the Sixers. AMC CEO Adam Aaron says they are currently working on the sequel to Nicole Kidman's Ad. I'm not sure when we're going to do it this year or next year. We'll try to live up to your expectations when the time comes.
I will not comment on this for fear of my job. I will not comment on this for fear of my job. I will not comment on this for fear of my job. Thank you very much. This has been my statement.
I always do find it funny that Adam Aaron once worked for the Sixers and is now the CEO of AMC.
No comment.
House of the Dragon Season 2 will continue filming amid the writer's strike as all of the scripts are finished.
Yeah, like that's kind of the key thing. It's like anything that got done right before the strike can basically be done, and they can have it ready to roll out as long as everyone else doesn't go on strike.
Valid. We're getting a new Simpsons short, Rogue Not Quite One, releasing on Star Wars Day.
Golf clap.
And Taika Waititi is reportedly committed to directing his Star Wars film next year.
And I'm just going to ignore the fact that he's supposedly directing a live action version of Kira, which he is a filmmaker who shouldn't be making that film, because that film should be made by an actually serious filmmaker, like a Christopher Nolan, like a Denis Villeneuve, like one of those guys, instead of Mr. Indie Director. So, yeah.
15 years ago this week, Iron Man released in theaters. Still holds up to this day.
Yep.
Tony Stark built this in a cave. With a box of scraps.
And it's a tie game in the top of the ninth with 2 outs and runners on first and second, and Alec Boehm at the plate.
Emma Watson says she will return to acting and will begin starring in a new film in early 2024.
Love it. Stupendous.
And I believe that's all I have on my list. Christian, do you have anything that we might have missed out on?
Not really, no.
So there it is. Pretty simple week this week. Make sure you guys are following us at StreamerSZN on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Christian on Twitter at TheWiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia, so you don't miss out on any of the video content we're putting out, including full video episodes of StreamerSZN every single week. Big thank you to PHI Apparel Company. Go get your merch, phiapparel.co. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all orders. And this has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. We're going to go believe and figure out when the writers will be back. But until then, for Christian, I'm KB. I'm getting the heck up out of here. Later.
Peace.